Hey everybody, Dan Burrows with Stinger Chemical. Zach, here we are together in the hive.
As always, let's do this.
Yeah. So we're going to do something quick today and kind of relay some information. We get a lot of questions. They usually get passed out to the different sales reps or trainers. So we started kind of accumulating those. Some we also get online. We love questions. So if you're watching our social media or you're watching our trainings, chime in, send us emails or inquiries on the website. Ask us the questions you have about Stinger Chemical because as our line is pretty enormous, as most of you know who are using it, or if you don't use us, check it out because we do have a huge line of products. So when you have a huge line of products, we get a lot of questions.
Absolutely, we do.
So we're just going to go right into this. I don't want to waste anyone's time, and we're probably going to go a little fast just so we can get a bit in. So if you have further questions, definitely let us know. If you're not following all of our social media, definitely follow all of our social media. A lot on there. YouTube has a lot of training. A lot of these questions get answered in our training. So we're just kind of going to bust right into this. So this one is what I would call kind of a body shop question that turns into a ceramic coating question, wouldn't you say?
I would think so.
Yeah. So the question was, if I'm sanding with 1500 grit sandpaper and I want to sand out my scratches, what product do you recommend to do that? So that would be our 801 HD rubbing compound. So that's an 801 heavy duty rubbing compound. We just call it HD rubbing compound. That's going to be our most aggressive compound with a diminishing abrasive. The diminishing abrasive is important because as you're cutting, generally when you're compounding, you're making a little bit of a haze, a mess. What would you call it? A haze? Do you call it a haze or a swirl?
We call it a haze more than a swirl.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're creating a haze with a diminishing compound abrasive. Generally, you have a better finish because as that compound breaks down, that abrasive breaks down, it's going to turn into basically a polish. So when we're testing products, we always look for as good a finish as we can get at that point. We're not necessarily looking for the perfect finish, but anytime we get to a better finish, it's easier to do the next step.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, since we got that question, I'm going to kind of break into, our step after the 801.
Would be our rubbing compound, our 802, with a medium to a light aggressive pad. That would get the initial hazes off, and then we will actually finish with our fine polish, which is our finest silicone-free product that we actually have.
Yeah, so good point there. The 802 rubbing compound is really, we call it a compound, and it is a compound, but again, it's diminishing abrasive, so you have a lot of different pads you can use with it and get different results. A lot of times if we have the right paint, we can get the result we want just using the 802 rubbing compound and switching out the pads. A lot of people say, well, if I'm going to use this product, I'm going to use it with this pad. We're kind of the mindset that, no, you can use one product or get by with one product and switch up your pads. I personally like doing that. If I'm doing something in my garage when I'm home, 802 is very likely, the rubbing compound is very likely the one I'm going to use. I'm just going to swap it out, use a little heavier pad for cutting, and then I'm going to use a little lighter pad or polishing pad for finishing. And we do that a lot.
All the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So really universal product. That 802 rubbing compound is real universal. And again, a diminishing abrasive. So you've got the advantage to having a more modern, more advanced abrasive, and that's going to help you as well. And Zach mentioned the fine polish. So if we're going to go do this, and we're going to do a ceramic coating, most likely we are going to find out that we need to, even if it's a newer vehicle, a vehicle that's in good shape, we generally will recommend in our trainings that you're going to go to the 815 fine polish. That is a super fine, going to bring up a ton of gloss, remove those real light blemishes or scratches on new vehicles, but it works really well because of the short to medium time of the window of the buffing. When I say window of buffing, most of our products are meant to be like a 45-second to 60-second working time. The fine polish has about a 30 to 60 seconds, so it's really universal. Sometimes we'll grab a little heavier pad and play around with it
Absolutely.
as well. But, that's kind of the three-step process. The third step, probably more likely to be used in a ceramic coating situation. Would you agree?
More so than anything else.
Yeah, the 801 and 802, the first two steps are more along the lines of where you would stop if you were body shop. moving into ceramic coatings unless that vehicle is brand new and perfect, which even brand new vehicles usually aren't perfect. That 815 fine polish would be a very good thing to have in your arsenal. And all these are non-silicone. Sometimes people say, I hate silicones, they're bad. They're not bad. They have a place. And we'll talk about that in a minute because someone else had another question that was really good about that. But these are all non-silicone, no fillers. So when you're buffing, you're getting the true look of what you want if you're doing body shop work and most importantly ceramic work. I am a high volume user. Most likely this person's an auction or a dealership reconditioning center. I have a high volume shop, and what is a quick 2-step process that you recommend for my situation that will shine and also leave some protection? Whoever wrote that question is really good at writing questions. So in our 2-step line, what we recommend, and it does have silicone and it does have some waxes, which of course they are fillers. Waxes by nature are, but we're in a different situation now. We're not in a ceramic shop. Now we're in a high volume dealership, an auction, reconditioning center. So our 2 favorites are always
going to be our 807 and 808, our diamond shine and our diamond cut.
Yep. So the 2-step process is if you've got some heavier scratches or medium scratches, you maybe don't want to get them out completely. In our industry, we talk about shiny scratches. Sometimes shiny scratches is the goal we want because if the customer's not paying or it's a high volume shop, it's got to be quick. Got to be quick. So diamond cut, which I've been selling for a long time, and it's been one of my favorite products to sell, is a little more abrasive to it, a little heavier cutting. Still has a little bit of a protection package to it as well. And then diamond shine would be that second step if you need to. If you got a little more finicky paint, a little softer paint, and you have to do that second step. But a lot of times, and this goes into another question we had, what can be used as a quick 1-step. So a quick 1-step, we will usually tell people if you're in the situation where you're not ceramic coating, you're getting a car out in a lot or getting to your auction lot, is probably going to be that diamond shine because it does have just a little bit of abrasive, a silicone and a wax in it, so you get a lot of pop, a lot of shine. You'll get that hydrophobicity that you're looking for, the beading. That's kind of one of our go-to products a lot.
I tend to push a lot of people in our trainings to that, medium pad. Just that way you do have a little bit of cut, you're a little bit more aggressive with a diamond shine, and then just go to work.
Yeah, and depending upon the situation, if you're a person in your house and you're buying products from Stinger Chemical, you might pick up diamond shine and use it yourself in your garage. You can use it with any style of buffer. You can use it by hand. Everybody likes buffers nowadays because physical exertion is not our deal nowadays. We like things to be done quickly. But those are 2 products I would never recommend for a ceramic situation, but that high volume or where you're just not getting paid a lot, or even in a situation where you maybe are just doing stuff in your garage and you just want to play around, but you don't want to worry about wrecking your car, they're going to be great for you. So even a consumer product. It's funny, we get a lot of exposure to a lot of the chemicals, so sometimes we get questions and I look at them and I think, man, is this something we didn't cover in our training? Or maybe they saw it in our training because, Zach does a lot of our training. And the thing about Zach, he lives right here in Houston. So with Zach being right here in Houston, when he's in town, which isn't a whole bunch, you're going to be in California next week, right? All week? All week long. So
Sunday to Sunday.
We don't take vacations here at Stinger Chemical.
Not very many.
He gets half a day off today, though. So, so we cover a lot of the stuff in the training. But someone had a question. If I'm using a water-based dressing, what areas of the car can I use it on? Well, the answer to that is everywhere. So water-based dressings are very universal. In fact, we have one called 915 Universal Dressing. They're very universal because they're not flammable. They're water-based, so if they get on something, they can easily be wiped away where you don't want the dressing. So water-based dressings are definitely overall your most universal, can be used anywhere dressing. The alternative to water-based is going to be a solvent-based. Now, solvent-based work on tires and exterior. We don't generally recommend in our trainings that you're using them on interior. Yeah, well, especially in the engine bay, yeah, because solvent-based dressings are flammable, so you don't want to use those in the engine bay. We definitely want to stay away from that. So in the engine bay, we're using, what's your favorite dressing, Zach?
Probably universal dressing.
Yeah. Most of us at Stinger are pretty stuck on our universal dressing or our 940 vinyl leather rubber cleaner conditioner, the longest name in the history of chemical dressings. But we call it that because it really is. It'll do it all, and that's a ready-to-use dressing, so you don't mix it with water. The universal dressing is a concentrate, so you can mix it with water. So if you're trying to stretch your dollars, 915 is a great option for that. If you're maybe doing a higher-end car, you just don't want to mix the dressing, the vinyl leather rubber cleaner conditioner is a great one. And actually, now that I think about it, there's a question. Yeah. So what is your best dressing for cleaning and conditioning all in one step? So that would be our 940, which is our vinyl leather rubber cleaner conditioner. And that's personally, if I'm going to grab a dressing for my car, that's the one I'm going to grab. If we're doing training and we're going to grab one of our, I don't know, we make 16, 14 different water-based dressings for some reason. We're going to probably grab the universal dressing or maybe the 906 Super Plus, which has a little bit of a cleaning to it too. But, for the question asked, water-based dressings can be used anywhere. So if you just want to buy one dressing, water-based dressing is a great way to go. Using them on tires, I think universal dressing looks great on tires if you're using it straight. It's just not going to last as long because it doesn't have that solvent that will repel the water. But if you're not worried about that, if you're, again, an auction or high volume user, that's an awesome dressing to use. Solvent-based dressings by nature, because of the solvent in them, will attack the surface, open the pores up, and let that silicone creep into the tire or the rubber molding or trim. So that hopefully answers that person's question on that. I think one of us talked to him, so he's probably already got his answer. But these are things that I see and I look at and I go, well, these are good things, to answer. So another question that ties into that is Rejuvenator, which is our trim and molding renewer, body shop safe, and why? Because a lot of these trim renewers are not body shop safe because they're using the same silicones that are in the dressings. So our Rejuvenator is
body shop safe.
That's right. So kind of a unique feature with that one is that Rejuvenator uses what we call an encapsulated silicone. It won't go airborne like a regular silicone will. So it does have a silicone and glycerin base to it, but it's not going to float off into the air in a body shop, which we don't want because then we get
fisheye.
Yep.
We get a whole bunch of issues with the paint.
Yep. So we don't want to make painters paint vehicles 2 or 3 times. That
Absolutely
tends to make them angry.
Definitely does.
So yes, Rejuvenator is body shop safe as long as it's used with a applicator and wiped on the vehicle. It's going to be fine. And someone who's been selling Stinger chemicals for probably over 16 years now, I think if I look at it, probably almost 18 years now. I've sold a ton of Rejuvenator into body shops, never ever had an issue. This is an interesting question. I don't even know if Zach knows the answer to this question. Let's test Zach's knowledge. What acid is in your 788 concrete remover?
Our glycolic acid.
Ah, look at that. He got it right. I joke with these guys because I test them every now and then because we use so many different raw materials and we use so many different acids. So the advantage to glycolic acid, which is Zach got it right. I'm very rarely doubt Zach. Zach is one of the most knowledgeable in the company, is a glycolic acid. The reason that's important, glycolic acids are much more earth-friendly, much safer to the user. So our concrete remover isn't what I would say if you're going to, take a concrete truck and want to clean all the concrete off of that. But the concrete remover that we make is really designed to be more user-friendly, more eco-friendly, greener, and still get great concrete off with that glycolic acid. So we're not using a hydrofluoric or something like that. Hydrofluoric acids, you're here in Houston and you do a lot of car wash stuff, and people generally don't like to use a whole bunch of hydrofluoric acids. Am I correct on that one?
You're correct.
Yeah. Sometimes, it's a necessity.
There is a place in the car wash industry for hydrofluoric and stuff like that, but for most detailers and end users, no, they're not going to be using hydrofluoric and stuff like that.
Yeah, and glycolic isn't something we use like in our acid-based wheel cleaners. That's not going to be effective in that area probably, or at least not as effective. So that 788 concrete remover, little story, I was in Wisconsin with one of our distributors, and I was at a shop, and he had concrete remover. This was right when we first had it out. And there was a little bit out of the gallon, and I saw a bottle there with the label on it, and I said, you tried our, 788 concrete remover? And he goes, yeah. He goes, that worked great. And I said, good, that's awesome. He goes, yeah, I didn't know how I was going to get that concrete out of the seat. And me being a Stinger rep, I'm like, oh, seat? Because we kind of designed it to get concrete off of the exterior of the vehicle. So my question was, so it worked great and didn't wreck anything? He goes, no. He said it was a Ford F-150 construction vehicle. The guy had concrete on his pants, didn't know, got in the vehicle, sat down. By the time he got to where he was at, it was dry, so they brought it in to have me remove it. And he goes, I called my distributor, and he came out with the concrete remover, and he said, honestly, I just figured it says concrete remover, so I'm just going to remove concrete with it. So, it's funny how we build things and we think there's always going to be a purpose that we intend them to be. But then we're out with the customer, which we're out a lot with customers because we travel all over and we work with our distributors and we are at the trade shows and we are out doing trainings. In fact, training next week. That's what you're doing out there.
I'm doing training with T1 Detailing out of Manteca, California.
Yeah.
So
that's Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett. Absolutely.
Jimmy Buffett. Shout out to Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy
Absolutely.
Buffett's a cool cat. So that's a question that was a great one too. You can tell by the pages here. I've got a lot of questions. So this is interesting. Someone somewhere caught some pictures of top secret Stinger air tools coming out. I don't know where they saw it. Maybe our videographer extraordinaire, Luis, threw something out there on social media and they caught it. But he said, how many air tools will be in the new Stinger Twister line? Well, it's 3. And I'm astonished someone asked this. They must be pretty sharp because I don't think we've really thrown it out there much. But cool thing is, this stuff cleared customs yesterday, and we expect to see it, if not today, for sure beginning of next week. So those Stinger Twister air tools are going to be equivalent to like a Tornado, equivalent to a mini blowgun, equivalent to the non-tanked blowgun in the Twister line. So they've got the Twister. All of them are metal twisters, bearings, sealed bearings, super high quality tools. How long did we test those tools?
We tested them for a good 2 to 3 weeks, banging them, dropping them, seeing how they held up.
Yep.
So we put them through the ringer.
And previous to that, we actually got these tools a year ago, and I didn't really tell you guys, but the intention was to let you guys beat on them. So we used them in the training center, the wash bay, and I said, hey, we got these tools. Let's try them and see. I didn't want to bias their opinion and say, this is what we're going to buy and put our name on. So these guys really tested these things. Yeah, after a couple months, I'm like, well, what do you guys, think maybe we're going to sell these things? Well, what we did even further was the company that we really decided on, we had them send us more of the tools, same tools, just more of them, so we could test to make sure the consistency and the quality was there, which is important because, a lot of things are made in China. That's just how our world is nowadays. You can't buy these things in the U.S. We try to do everything we can in the U.S. We make everything in the U.S. here in Houston of our own chemicals. But we really, really thoroughly tested these tools, so I'm very confident when we get them out in hundreds of people's hands, which we did order. I think we've got total between the 3 of them close to 8,000, 7,500 tools that are going to be here. So watch our social media for that because we're going to have some stuff coming up on that. We're going to do some videos. Zach's going to be lounging around in California, so I have to come back into Houston. If you don't know, I don't live here. I have to come back into Houston. We're going to do some videos, some pictures. We'll post that stuff. And, the easy thing is if you're buying Stinger Chemical right now from your distributor, your, detail supplier, your retail store, sometimes people buy online, Google Stinger Chemicals. You're going to find a lot of websites with our product. So these will be available probably to the distributors. We'll start shipping them out next week. So you guys should start seeing them on social media next week from us. And then into the distributors and your suppliers probably within a week to 2 weeks after that, depending upon when their order comes in or when their order is placed. So I'm excited about that, and it's kind of funny that someone caught that little bit and asked that question.
That little teaser that was released on social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah, and along with that too, there's a bunch of other tools we're releasing as well. So a question on Eagle Sandpaper. So we use Eagle in all of our training. We sell Eagle Sandpaper. A good majority of our distributors sell Eagle Sandpaper as well. It says, what is the foam pad that I get when I buy Eagle Sandpaper? So when you buy Eagle Sandpaper, you always get a foam pad in there. Technical term for it's called an interface pad. So what that is designed to do is give you a little bit of a cushion, so you've got a little bit of a room for error if you're putting different pressures on or you're moving into an area that's got a little different shape to it. So our training, we always recommend to use that little foam interface. So that's what it's there for. They give you one in every box that you buy with Eagle Sandpaper. You can buy them separately as well. I will not sand without an interface pad. Would you take that risk?
I will not either.
Yeah.
I agree. I'd rather be safer than sorry.
Yeah, unless you're really doing something where you really got to remove a lot of clear coat or paint, it's a good idea to use it. Now, in the little toll cut blocks, which nobody asked about, but they're really, really cool. Little toll cut blocks, they do not come with that interface, but they're really designed for micro areas. So, question on Eagle Sandpaper, which is cool. So, you know what? That's the questions that we picked to answer. We got bunches of them, so we'll continue to do this. Zach and Bruno, I know, did it a few weeks ago. Yep. So we'll also continue to do things in English and Spanish, as we always do. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we didn't take up too much of your time. If you have questions that you want answered, definitely let us know. You know, there are a lot of different ways to get a hold of us through social media, through our website. Just make sure you let us know. We'll do it. I mean, we always answer the questions to the individual as quickly as we can, but your question may end up in the podcast room, and we'll answer them there.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. That's Zach. I'm Dan in the Stinger Hive, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.
It was a
Take
pleasure,
care.
guys. Thank you.